Hello, I am Stephanie Joy, the attorney at All Things Social Security and Joy Disability Law. Your video is about to start. I just wanted to remind you that if you click the join button below, you can learn more about the memberships offered at a very affordable price that can give you a little more direct attorney answers to your questions. Have a great day and enjoy the video. Good afternoon. This is about work history report, and something I'm finding should be considered for a benefit of a claimant under a certain situation, or really all of them, but this is where it might just be helpful. So I have a client who stopped working in September of 2019. DLI, date last insured, is 12/31/24. That's about 5 calendar years out, which would be generally the maximum that one can have. We're at the beginning of the case, submitted function report, third-party function report was drafted by a spouse, I think it was, and that's been submitted. And there was a request for a work history report. Now, when we started this case, it was actually in the spring, but the SSA field office was inept, and it just never, in a reasonable time, got processed properly. We had to do a lot of nagging. I had to contact a congressperson to get a match to be under somebody's tuchus to get them to do their job. So anyway, so now we're a few months later, and now we're in October 2024, and there's a demand for the work history report as well as those other ones that we've already submitted. And like I said, he worked up until September 2019. When we filed the claim, that work was within the last 5 years. But now we've passed September of 2024. And certainly there's no more work in the last 5 years now. So I know we did a little overall on this when we were discussing the new past relevant rule and how, where it used to be 15 years, now it's only 5. So the question is, well, where does the 5 stem back from what date? And we did go through those overall, but I want to show you or explain to you where it really comes into play as I see it. In this case, if they had adjudicated back when we filed, they would have considered his prior work, which was management, which is much harder to win on when you have high skills, high mental skills. Now, granted, this is a mental health case, so I would have been arguing that those skills would not be transferable anyway by the nature of the impairments. However, that is not, you can never count on your one argument. You have to argue all the possibles that can help you. So I don't want to hang on that. And I don't want to hang on, well, that past relevant skill, this particular one within that arena could transfer to a less arduous job that the person could do and therefore lose at step 4 or lose at step 5 and game over. So here, now we are October. I was starting to, well, I still am kind of drafting the work history just in case, but I just shot a letter off to the DDS. That's the medical workup office. And I explained to them that, the 5-year look back stems from the date of adjudication. And I have the section that I'm going to share to you in case you could use it, where it's expressly states this. So if the date of adjudication hasn't taken place yet, right? We don't have a determination. So let's say they determine it in November. Then they can only look back to November of 2019. There's no work between November of 2019 and November of 2024. So they cannot be looking at any past relevant work and saying, you could still do this, or you could transfer this skill to something more simple. So that's the argument I'm going on as to why and I'm saying there is no past relevant work. So he shouldn't have to submit all these details, and we spent a few hours on these with them. So they get a full, there's things that they don't forget to include. So, but better yet, if he has no past relevant work, then we've already defeated step 4. There is no step 4 because there's no past relevant work for them to consider. Okay, so I just shot a letter over to the DDS, and I don't know if I should send it to the field office. I cannot, when in doubt, I probably will, because they do have some input as to prior work. Sometimes when they have a inkling that someone's working at a different time than they said when you applied, it'll get shot back to the field office, who will then send you an 820 or an 821. Even though your case is up in the medical office, they will send that issue back to the field office, and the field office will try to work it up, get you to fill out some information. So I will see what happens. I said, please let me know if you disagree with me, or if you want a past relevant work report, I'm sorry, a work history report, the new version now that they put out in 2024, that will be blank, simply so you can have it confirmed by him that there was no work. That's his statement, no work. Happy to do that too. So just looking to see what their response is. And I will stop bugging my client anymore today for more details to fill in the new work history report, because he had done the old one. We do that before we even file. We get that data from him. But the new work history report that they're using now compared to 6 months ago has far more many questions. It's a whole extra page per job. So I do have to get some more details if we do have to send it. But as far as I can see, according to the rule, and I shall read it, when the person's, and this is also interesting, when the person's DLI is in the future, and this person's it's 12/31/24, and we're only at 10, October. So fortunately, his DLI is in the future. And then when he came to me, he thought his DLI was the end of 2023. I don't know why he thought that. I think that's what he told me. And then fortunately, when I got on the case, I could see it was 2024. If the DLI is in the future, then the look back period is from the date of adjudication. As I said, our date of adjudication is in the future. And we know even as of today, there's no work in the last 5 years. If they said 5 years and 3 months, there would have been work, but that's not what it says, right? It's 5 years. If, let's say, he gets denied and we have to appeal for reconsideration. Now we're in February of 2025. His DLI would be in the past. In that scenario, the 5-year period look back is from the DLI date, which would be 12/31/24, and back 5 years. And again, we'd still have no past relevant work because he hasn't worked since September of 2019. So the relevance and the importance, this person's over 50, the importance of not having past relevant work when you had skilled work, it cannot be understated. It's huge. I mean, the case can really be almost, I'd be very surprised if we don't prevail on initial. But because we are dealing with checkbox people at the initial and recon, I can't make any promises, but I can't foresee it. So anywho, I'm going to link the page that explains this. I'm looking at the very first one on the list for the answer to my particular client, which is Title II Disability Insurance Benefits, aka DIB, dash date last insured, DLI, in the future. That's him. Relevant period, the 5-year period ends on the date of adjudication. That means you go from that date and go backwards, because that's the end date, and you go 5 years backwards in time, and then you know the period you're looking at. And the second line is the thing I'll be looking at if we get denied and have to appeal for reconsideration, and now we're in 2025. Title II DIB, where DLI is in the past, the end of your 5-year look back period is the DLI date, and you take that date and you go backwards 5 years. So all really, really excellent for these over 50s in particular. Super important for any of you guys doing this when you haven't worked. Even if you haven't worked in 4 years, potentially even 3.5 years or something, or, but you might get denied for past relevant work. You might get denied, but while you appeal, and by the time you get a hearing, The adjudication now would be going from your DLI and back, right? Date of adjudication, and depending on whether your DLI is in the past or the forward, you could now, that old job that you had in that window could now be scrolling out because the adjudication by the ALJ has not taken place yet. And by the time it does, it could be no past relevant work because you're looking back from that date or your DLI. Okay. Thanks, guys. I'll talk to you later. Bye.